on board the inquisitorial vessel of Inquisitor Castor Typh. You were just saved by Jack Wick, an extremely powerful psyker who, on board the ship, the vessel orbiting the planet Askellon Prime, used his immense powers to open a gate, a dimensional gate to the prison cell on board the Navigator vessel, where you retrieved Kane and Derilli from captivity. The Navigator House has not sought retribution. You opened the gate in the War Room, a briefing room used by the Inquisitor to show highly sensitive information about your next target. As soon as you jump out of the gate, you jump on top of each other, just in a big pile, just stumbling over each other, falling all over the room. And you can hear this deep humming noise in the background. A door opens and you can hear someone leaving the room. Lumen flicker above you and the fog is lingering in the air. You see a few sort of particles just slowly hovering from the dust that was kicked up from all of you moving around on the floor. As you stand up on the metal grit floor, you look at each other, and Samakri helps Derilli to his feet. You see that Demetrius has left. Dargo has stayed behind. Hector looks around, one of your acolyte assistants, and immediately just grabs Derilli's shoulder. Get up! Get up, old man! You're coming with me! He starts dusting off and trying to wipe up the blood from his forehead since he hit his head, and he will just do a military carry out of the room. Kane stands by the door. All of you get up and look at each other. There's this ominous dim lighting, and your shadows are cast wildly around the room. Zach, you can begin by describing your character. What do we see?
Sporting a Imperial Navy uniform covered by a navy blue cloak, a backpack which is feeding a heavy weapon by a belt can be spotted underneath said cloak. His face is a mixture of man that has lost a lot of blood, very pale in complexion, as well as someone that's been working overtime under stressful circumstances. Deep black trenches underneath his eyes discern this fact. His hair, far from perfect and as should be considered uniform for his station, is covered in either muck, blood, or still can the smell of gunpowder can still be smelled around him. His boots are filled with either holes or have been penetrated by ragged shrapnel that has found themselves lodged inside, and he's sporting several wounds that would not impede the more of a man of a military background. Nevertheless, he sheaths his knives, steadies his weapons, puts them back into their holster, and with a click, he lets the backpack, as long as with the heavy weapon, just fall to the ground as he's finally within friendly territory, and he must not carry this burden anymore, at least for now.
You hear the clacking of empty shells. These empty artillery shells Some of them fall out of your backpack. Franz.
Hans will be stepping up as the shells actually come down. As you look at his face, you'll see, well, the fact that he's come through, smacked the edge of the table. You can actually see already a shiner starting to grow underneath his eye. He is also wearing blue military uniform, Navy issue. Gets up and you can actually see where there's cuts and where the blood has actually come out. The uniform is turned a sort of black color. You can see that on his hips he is wearing a plasma pistol with a bolt pistol on the other hip, and across his back is a power sword. As he stands up, you can hear the crunching of bones as he stretches himself out. Turning to the rest of the group, nods at them and says, "Well, that was a bit bumpy on re-entry."
And Mordo. Mordo, you're muted. Alright. Skipping him. Kane will look to you. He looks tired. He's clutching his chest. So Macri will walk to the door. Once again, we are saved by someone else. Your plan was insufficient.
Sorry about that. I was on push to talk. Didn't notice. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mordo is a figure dressed in black. He has a ornate mask that covers his face, and as he gets up from the ground after everyone tumbled through, his eyes, that was previously blue, clearly visible, are now white and almost scorched around his where they used to be, as if stepping through the portal had somehow damaged them. Besides that, he seems fine, as he seems to be disoriented to begin with, but even the bullet wound that was on his shoulder from the previous ordeal has stopped bleeding. He looks to each one as some leave and the others stay present. So, I'm glad we somehow survived that ordeal. Must say, I was surprised by the way that was presented out to us.
Indeed. So, Macri, you should learn from the navigator, as he says, biting his tongue as he was about to say something else. A lesson has been learned, and we should be joyous and thankful to the Emperor that we still draw breath. Our mission has been successful. Not only have we managed to rescue Somatri, the Archconfessor is still amongst us. The plan has been poorly put together. I do confess that such success can only be granted to the chosen people of our Emperor. We are truly working under his domain and are covered by his light.
So
You know,
we get to chalk this up as another win then.
Indeed.
Well, I'm thirsty. So I think I might go get myself a drink.
I feel we will be debriefed soon. So whatever you still
Yeah,
have
well,
in the
that works.
canteen should suffice.
Archconfessor Kane will grab an Aquila from under his shirt. Do not be so quick to congratulate yourself. In my visions, I saw that the Emperor had a personal hand in all of this. Have you remembered to thank him?
Yes, Archconfessor, we've just finished lauding our Lord for our success. And for
The
without
silent prayer, then.
Mordo does the sign of the Aquila.
Kane gives you a slight nod.
That will also hold the sign of the Aquila and fall silent for around 15 seconds.
I will
I'd
see you
prefer
in the...
to honor the Emperor by action, but if a silent prayer is what you think is best, then...
Kane draws a deep and annoyed breath. Dargo walks next to him out the door. And Thriel, would you like to describe yourself as I assume you're standing in the opening of the door?
At this point, since he's off mission and in a more comfortable setting, he's dressed in simple but very fine clothing with a small but utilitarian sword belted at his hip along with his plasma pistol, as he holds a pipe in his hand that's filled with the various glow stick leaf, as he just simply puffing on it, with a small micro bead in either ear to provide him status updates of extreme importance or pertinence for the ship.
Awesome. Kane will just start walking down the corridor as the door opens. Sumek turns around. I am headed to the bridge with everyone else. I don't want to be seen with you. He starts staggering down the hallway with his dragging his red cape behind him that has been torn in half. I knew I shouldn't have gone with them, he mumbles to himself as he walks off.
Mordo starts stepping towards the exit as well. I'm feeling a little bit peckish. I will be heading, or at least trying to find the mess hall, if anyone would care to join me.
I wish I would join you, however, I do believe.
Well, there's a mess hall on the starboard side that enjoys the company of the Tanith War bartender, who brews many barrels of sake. It's a most wonderful Amasak variant, if any of you would join me.
Lord Trader, are you certain? Although self-medication during combat may be considered appropriate, it's not above question to admit that you are half the man you were when we first met. Or close to it.
Yet I'm
As
still surrounded by bumbling fools. Though I suppose that's a bit of a backhanded compliment. As I take a puff on my pipe. Anyway, follow me if any of you wish to sample such divine drinks.
No, I'm gonna hang out here for a moment before I find myself shooting someone.
Why, I would
Says,
think drinking would help such moods.
And you'll actually see that the temple is the vein in his temple is just absolutely thumping. And he has a look in his face as to now's not the time.
Well, color me intrigued. I could use a drink.
I will leave my armaments to the armorer and join you afterwards.
Walking down the hallways, you have a private section of the ship where the acolytes usually meet to eat and drink away from the commoners. Do a navigate surface test, please.
Wallace?
All involved, or
Any of you can do it. This inquisitorial cruiser is massive. It is like a city in itself. Endless subdecks, abandoned sections, collapsed hallways. You will walk down a corridor you remember, only to see that it has been collapsed into another hallway, or like just goes around in a circle and looks like another one. It is a maze. Nearly impossible to explore. Really? Damn. Well, you lead the way.
Under great success, I mean.
Ah.
I lead them along the various corridors towards the bar section, but before a corridor that turns off towards it, I take a look back at them and I require but a moment to check on a personal matter before I move into the corridor opposite towards some sort of... if any of you have ever seen Firefly and Serenity and talked about the Reavers, how they looked into the black of deep space and went insane, that's basically how it feels like looking into this corridor. Like, you have to... anyone looking down into it feels a sense of wanting to just run away from it because of the... not the malevolence of it, just the sheer wrongness of it. And I come back up the corridor. Yes, my thanks. To Sakura. And as we arrive at the bar, I just, to hold a small amount of noise of the various machines running in the background, and the bartender in the corner tending drinks. Mitana! Yes! Several bottles of that good quality Sakura you managed to conjure up. Hey, Captain. I'll have that to you in just a moment. As he goes behind the bar and just grabs an entire small keg and kind of thumps it on the center of the nearby gambling table with several mugs, both fine and utilitarian. Anything else, Captain? No, that will be all. Thank you, McTana. And the bartender walks away back to the bar.
This room that you've entered is kind of its own VIP area of the cafeteria, so to speak. You walk through a few security zones, and while it is not as luxurious as perhaps something on a pleasure world, you've tried to gather whatever you have of paintings and old vases and lamps to sort of remind you of that feeling of being on a distant world somewhere. luxurious. Sit down on these old squeaky chairs. Invaluable, made of real wood. As you look around, acolytes occasionally pass through the dark corridors around you. You sit there in relative peace while a servant of the Inquisition with a dark robe stands in the doorway.
I'm not surprised that a person of your status is as familiar with bars as a normal sailor or trader.
You'll be surprised just how valuable certain pieces of information are once you loosen up your competitor's lips with fine drink and voluptuous exotic company.
Secrets are always divulged when the people speaking them think that nobody's listening indeed.
Yes, quite so, quite so.
I scan the room as I see both Detritus and Zawol and say, Detritus, lady, I'm glad to see that you are still alive.
Tetricus walks up to the table. He's a huge, giant abhuman. He has a low stick in his mouth. He takes it out and coughs. He has a thick cybernetic device around his neck. Most of his body seems augmented. And his footsteps sort of makes the chairs rattle. He walks up to the nearby desk.
Jericho's waiting for you. At the bridge. He said it was important. I guess the Inquisitor's waiting for you.
Just as he sat down, he immediately jumps up, almost knocking the chair over, looks at Trial and says, take the bottle. We're moving.
I can't say I'm not disappointed. But off we go.
Are you certain he's on the command deck, or is he in fact within the archive?
There's only one place that the Inquisitor and Jericho would meet. It's on the bridge of the ship. Unless...
Well, McTanner, it would appear that we do not have quite enough time to enjoy your fine drink. However, I will be taking a single bottle. Yes, my lord.
I'm imagining you've built up this personal relationship with a totally guy who has no idea who you are. Just handing out whatever they have in storage. And it is the worst Amasek. You get a bottle.
Yeah, then, good sir, lead on to the bridge.
I also take the note from Tetra just to make sure that my expectations are valid as I make way to the Inquisitor's destination.
Tetragus stands there confused.
Do you want me to lead you?
Yes, if you'd be so kind.
Alright.
As we are placed under your charge, Tetragus.
Tetragus staggers out the door, down the hallway, and immediately gets lost. You're standing in an engine room, and he just looks left and right.
I forgot the room. I forgot the left, right, left.
He starts counting with his hands.
First go left, down straight.
Anyone can do a navigate surface test.
4 degrees of success.
Awesome. You do remember the way.
You just kind of see B gently going up to the server. Just, do you believe the bridge would be located along the central spine? So perhaps down this corridor?
When you arrive, you see that all of the acolytes of the Inquisition have gathered on the bridge. There is an airy silence as the Inquisitor stands with his back turned to you, looking out at a view of Askellon Prime from orbit.
Bill just kind of walks up next to the command dais behind the Inquisitor, just makes the sign of an Aquila across his chest and just bows, "My lord."
The Inquisitor does not acknowledge you. The Archconfessor will turn around, looking at you as you walk down the stairs. Further into the room, you will see that Tetricus, Hector, Llewellyn, Zaul, and Jericho are all standing by, as well as a few acolytes you don't recognize behind them. The Archconfessor will motion for Durilli to step out of the darkness. He dramatically walks into a lumen pointed directly down, casting dark shadows under his eyes. Very fitting for his long beard and strange appearance. You all get chills as you enter the room, realizing the importance of this moment. The Inquisitor stands and watches as lights flicker, fires burn, and explosions around the atmosphere of Askellon Prime. Further down on the surface, you can see vehicles exploding. The Imperial Guard are fighting a hopeless battle against the abominable intelligence. The Inquisitor just stands there, his head slowly turning back and forth, looking at the wreckage of Imperial ships burning up against the atmosphere. Kane calmly walks across the floor, waiting for you to approach the holographic table. You're late.
We've taken the rare luxury for a bit of R&R, Archconfessor.
Indeed it seems. He looks over his shoulder, sort of, for you to acknowledge what's happening.
It seems that both the Navy and the Guard are fulfilling their duties. It is a shame, but this will add just another charge for the people that are responsible for this to be enumerated once we burn them on the pyre.
I beg leave, my lord, but what precisely is the current status upon the Imperial Guard forces?
What do you see? Testing 1. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1.
Everyone is just standing there looking at the flickering lights and explosions in the horizon. Even Llewellyn's mouth is half open as the Battle Sister looks in awe at the massive destruction on the surface of the planet.
From what I see of the readings, it will most likely be a massacre, judging by how the planet-bound residents are using such incredibly fast force and with such little expediency of effort. I expect the entirety of the Astra Militarum to be routed soon, for the stragglers to be swiftly cut down.
As the Inquisitor slowly turns around, you can see servants immediately rushing up to hold him before he falls. His face is decayed, old, pale. Two shimmering eyes slowly flicker as he opens his eyes. He draws breath and you can see his mouth sort of trembling as he begins to speak from behind his visor. He raises his eyes to look at you.
High Priest. I praise the Emperor for our victory. Look at me.
He staggers towards you. He eventually motions for all of you to line up in front of him.
Look me in the eye.
Zack takes his position as he stares the Inquisitor, as he commands, right in the eye. As
Did you retrieve the code from the abominable intelligence?
The Inquisitor is barely conscious, and when he moves his lips you can see the Voxcaster translate his words through the speaker. He asked if you have retrieved the code from the abominable intelligence.
We have, and it has been quarantined. The local populace have sworn not to use it unless in dire situations. It has been overseen by our inquisitorial tech priests.
As everyone looks to Sumakrikorpum, his bionic eyes sort of flicker as he looks down at the ground. Kane whispers something in the Inquisitor's ear.
Can they be trusted? Trusted?
They care for their survival, and they are aware of their current debacle. They know that they have no friends other than us here, and we have made sure that the remaining navigator houses, Brabazon, and generally everyone except Meduseli, is to be working with us.
He will activate a Voxcaster on his chest piece, and you immediately see on the monitor above you a room that is quite dark but slowly lights up. There is a little disturbance, but you see a torpedo room with a massive exhaust. Some of the crew wearing helmets have begun loading his weapons. The Inquisitor, again, you can see a grim seriousness in his eyes. Durilli is just looking at you and him back and forth.
have a cyclonic torpedo ready to fire now. Gem, the launch is ready. Drone agents, investigators. Should the planet be destroyed,
At the monitor, you can see the launch panels activate and open. The cyclonic torpedo has been readied.
Zach takes a step back with his left hand holding his chin as he formulates his opinion. He's ready to deliver it, but lets the rest speak before him.
Kane takes a step forward, looks at the Inquisitor, and slightly hesitates before raising his eyebrows. A difficult decision to make, but you were the only ones who met with the planetary governor. Only you are fitting to judge whether they are worthy of survival. Can they be a resource to the Imperium, or are they to be destroyed?